Have you ever stopped and asked yourself why some people seem to shape the world around them effortlessly, while others struggle under the same circumstances, repeating the same mistakes year after year? It isn't luck, it isn't divine intervention, and it certainly isn't moral superiority. The harsh truth is that the world doesn't reward kindness. It doesn't hand out success to those with good intentions, and it certainly doesn't protect the innocent from the consequences of their own passivity. The world rewards only one thing: strategy, foresight, and relentless execution. And the sooner you accept that, the sooner you can stop being a victim of circumstances and start being the architect of your own outcomes. Today, I'm going to pull back the curtain on a way of thinking that most people never even consider, a mindset so powerful that it has allowed people for centuries to bend society, politics, and human nature itself to their will. This is the Machiavellian Playbook, a guide not for the faint of heart, but for those who are ready to see the world for what it really is. It's a world where appearances can be weapons, where perception carries as much weight as reality, and where your ability to navigate complexity determines whether you win or remain trapped. The rules you've been taught about being good, about being patient, polite, or endlessly accommodating are not just unhelpful. They are actively designed to keep you controllable. They are the chains that prevent you from thinking strategically, from commanding respect, and from achieving the kind of influence that turns ordinary people into forces that cannot be ignored. Before we dive into the mechanics of this secret playbook, I want you to consider a question. What if every lesson about being kind, patient, or selfless was not morality, but manipulation? What if the very system that promised to reward fairness was actually designed to suppress your ambition and keep you predictable and therefore powerless? These are not philosophical musings. They are practical truths that have shaped the rise and fall of leaders, the success of entrepreneurs, and the dominance of those who refuse to be manipulated. The world is not set up for fairness, and it certainly does not reward innocence. It rewards those who understand the rules, anticipate the moves of others, and are willing to act decisively when most people hesitate. So if you are ready to start thinking differently, to begin seeing the world as a game where strategy matters more than sentiment, then you need to pay attention. Because once you understand the rules of influence, power, and perception, you can start to operate at a level most people will never even glimpse. This isn't about being ruthless for the sake of cruelty. It's about being deliberate, being smart, and being effective in a world that rewards cunning over kindness. The knowledge you are about to gain will make you harder to manipulate, more respected, and far more capable of achieving outcomes that others only dream about. Today, you are going to learn how to stop being a pawn in someone else's game and start becoming the player who sets the board. Success is not random, and it is not something that simply falls into your lap because you worked harder than everyone else, or because you happen to be in the right place at the right time. That is the myth society sells you. Most people cling to the illusion of luck or morality, believing that if they are honest, kind, and diligent, the world will reward them in equal measure. But the truth is far more unforgiving. Success is calculated. Every move, every decision, every interaction has consequences that compound over time. And those who succeed are the ones who understand the board before anyone else even realizes there is a game being played. Society hides this truth behind comforting slogans. You have been told over and over again to just work hard or to be yourself, as if these alone were enough to guarantee success. You have been encouraged to wait patiently for recognition, to hope that good behavior and polite persistence will eventually earn you what you want. Meanwhile, the people who actually get what they want are studying the environment, watching the players, and positioning themselves strategically. They are not waiting for permission or for someone to notice their efforts. They are moving carefully, deliberately, and with an understanding of how perception shapes outcomes. Consider the difference in a workplace scenario. There is the employee who works tirelessly behind the scenes, submitting perfect work and hoping that someone will recognize their dedication. And then there is the employee who understands the dynamics of influence. They make sure their contributions are seen, timed perfectly, and aligned with the priorities of those who control opportunities. One quietly works harder, the other works smarter. And when promotions are handed out, which one do you think benefits? The same principle applies to relationships and social interactions. Some people let emotions dictate their actions, reacting impulsively, apologizing unnecessarily, or allowing themselves to be steamrolled by others' agendas. Others understand that every interaction sends a message. They control the narrative, they manage perceptions, and they recognize that appearances matter more than reality because human beings respond first to what they see, and only later to what is true. Machiavelli himself recognized this principle centuries ago. He wrote that appearances can be a weapon, that the world responds to what seems inevitable or impressive more than it responds to what is real or honest. A leader who appears decisive commands authority even before they act, just as someone who is perceived as competent gains influence before proving their skill. In practical terms, this means that thinking strategically is not optional. It is essential. You cannot hope to succeed by relying on chance, luck, or the goodwill of others. You must understand the board, anticipate the moves of others, and act in a way that advances your position while minimizing vulnerabilities. The key takeaway here is simple but often overlooked. You must begin thinking like a chess player, not a pawn. Pawns wait, they react, and they get sacrificed. Chess players anticipate, they maneuver, and they control the pace of the game. Strategy transforms effort into results, turning hard work into leverage, and turning opportunities into victories. If you are willing to adopt this mindset, to replace hope and passivity with planning and calculated action, you will no longer be at the mercy of circumstance. You will start to bend reality towards your will. And the sooner you realize that strategy is not just an option, but the currency of power, the sooner you can begin operating at a level where most people never even notice you moving pieces, let alone controlling the board. Once you understand that strategy is power, the next lesson is that knowledge of the terrain and the people who inhabit it is what separates those who win from those who are constantly exploited. Human behavior is predictable if you know what to look for, and weaknesses are like neon signs flashing, "Manipulate me," to anyone paying attention. The truth is uncomfortable, but it must be faced. Most people walk through life leaving these signs everywhere, oblivious to the dangers they invite, while a few carefully observe, learn, and leverage them for their advantage. Machiavelli understood this centuries ago, and he recognized that intelligence and cunning are far more important than brute force. To succeed, you cannot just be good. You must be clever, and you must be vigilant. Consider the workplace. There are people who do excellent work, who put in long hours, and who hope their dedication alone will earn them respect and advancement. And then there are those who operate differently. They study the dynamics of influence. They notice who holds power and who defers to it, and they understand where others are vulnerable or overconfident. They know when to speak, when to stay silent, and when to push for recognition. They understand that influence is not a byproduct of effort. It is the result of careful observation and precise action. The quiet overachiever may produce brilliant work, but if no one notices, if they fail to position themselves strategically, they remain invisible. The calculated influencer knows how to make their presence undeniable, and the result is often the reward that effort alone could never secure. The same principles apply in relationships. Power favors those who are willing to walk away, who understand their value, and who refuse to tolerate manipulation or disrespect. It punishes those who give too much, who fear confrontation, or who remain desperate to be liked. Every time someone bends themselves to please others, they are signaling that they are negotiable, that their standards are flexible, and that they can be moved, persuaded, or controlled. The moment you recognize this, you understand one of life's harshest truths. Weakness is always exploited, whether you intend it or not. When you leave gaps, others will fill them, and rarely with your best interests in mind. Machiavelli's wisdom is clear. It is not enough to be good. Morality, kindness, or talent alone will not protect you. Cleverness and awareness are your shield, your weapon, and your leverage. Identify your own weaknesses and work to eliminate them. Observe the weaknesses of others and learn how to navigate them strategically. Every interaction is a test of perception and adaptability. Every conversation, every negotiation, every choice carries weight because people are constantly probing, looking for signs of vulnerability. The person who recognizes these patterns can exploit them, protect themselves, and move with confidence, while those who remain unaware are constantly reacting, constantly defending, and constantly losing ground. This is not about cruelty, and it is not about being malicious for its own sake. It is about clarity, control, and survival. The people around you are not neutral. They are influenced by your actions, your inactions, and the signals you emit. By understanding the terrain, both the environment and the people in it, you take power over what most assume is random. You become someone who does not simply react to the world, but someone who anticipates, maneuvers, and ultimately shapes the outcomes around them. The key takeaway is this: know the rules of the game, recognize the patterns of human behavior, and exploit weaknesses wisely and deliberately. Those who fail to do so will always be prey, and those who succeed will always dictate the terms. Once you understand strategy and know how to exploit weaknesses, the next essential lesson is mastering the delicate balance between fear, respect, and influence. Too often, people believe that being liked, being agreeable, or being well-intentioned is the fastest route to success. They assume that if they are nice, if they are patient, if they never step on toes, people will respond in kind. But the reality is far harsher. People do not respect what they can control. They respect what they cannot. Influence is earned through presence, consistency, and the clear understanding that your boundaries are not negotiable, and that your decisions have consequences for those who test them. This is the realm where Machiavelli's teachings become most urgent. To survive and thrive, you must cultivate both respect and strategic fear, not through cruelty, but through undeniable authority and clear self-command. Think about your daily interactions. The person who never responds to emails promptly may seem disorganized, but someone who responds selectively, timing their responses to assert control over the flow of communication, is demonstrating influence. The colleague who shies away from expressing opinions, who avoids confrontation to stay liked, may be well-intentioned, but they are invisible. Compare that to someone whose opinions are measured, deliberate, and firm. Someone whose words carry weight because others know they are thoughtful and decisive. Influence is not about being loud or aggressive. It is about creating a presence that demands attention, a reputation that ensures your input is valued, and a mindset that others must account for before acting. People naturally push against boundaries, testing to see how far they can go without consequence. You must be the person who makes crossing your boundaries costly enough that they think twice before even trying. In relationships, the principle is the same. The person who fears confrontation, who accommodates endlessly, and who tolerates disrespect is easy to manipulate. Conversely, the individual who sets standards communicates them clearly and refuses to compromise on their self-worth, exerts influence without overt aggression. This is the kind of power that is subtle yet undeniable, the power that ensures you are neither overlooked nor underestimated. Machiavelli once said, "It is better to be feared than loved if you cannot be both." And though many misunderstand this, the lesson is not cruelty. It is enforceable boundaries. Fear in this sense is not terror. It is the anticipation of consequences, the awareness that your words, your decisions, and your standards carry weight. Respect naturally follows because people instinctively respond to strength and consistency, even if it makes them uncomfortable. Mastering this balance is essential because perception is reality in human affairs. Those who can project calm authority while remaining unpredictable and decisive shape the way others behave around them. They create influence without overt dominance, ensuring that their ideas are respected, their time is valued, and their presence is considered carefully before it is challenged. The key takeaway is that influence is not passive. It is the product of deliberate behavior, consistent boundaries, and the clear projection of competence. Fear and respect are tools, not weapons, and when wielded wisely, they allow you to operate with freedom, confidence, and leverage. When people know that crossing you has costs, they will think twice before testing your limits, and in turn, you gain the freedom to move without constraint, while others remain bound by their own hesitations and misjudgments. Understanding strategy, human weaknesses, and influence is meaningless if you remain trapped by one of the most subtle and destructive forces in life: comfort. Comfort is seductive. It whispers that the safe, predictable path is enough, that avoiding risk is wise, and that staying within the familiar confines of your life will protect you from failure. Most people are addicted to this lie. They trade growth for ease, dreams for security, and challenge for convenience. And every choice to remain comfortable slowly erodes power, ambition, and potential. It is the quiet killer of greatness because it lulls you into passivity and convinces you that staying small is acceptable. Think about your daily life. How many people do you know who have been in the same job for years, doing the same tasks, thinking the same thoughts, and facing the same frustrations, convinced that this is all life has to offer? How many relationships stagnate because neither person is willing to confront uncomfortable truths or enforce boundaries? Comfort makes it easy to avoid the hard decisions, the tough conversations, and the risks that could radically improve your position. Every day spent choosing ease over growth is a day your potential diminishes. Dreams don't vanish in spectacular, dramatic ways. They die quietly, almost imperceptibly, one small, safe choice at a time. Machiavelli understood this principle in both leadership and life. Those who succeed are willing to embrace discomfort, to endure the uncertainty and resistance that growth demands, and to confront situations that most people would flee. Comfort breeds weakness because it removes the stimulus for development. Just as physical muscles atrophy without resistance, your mental, emotional, and strategic muscles weaken when you avoid challenge. The ability to negotiate, to assert influence, to see the bigger picture, and to seize opportunities is not innate. It is built in response to difficulty. If you cling to comfort, you will never test these muscles, and they will never develop. The consequences of comfort extend beyond personal stagnation. People who choose comfort also signal predictability and passivity to the world. They become easy targets for manipulation, oversight, or exploitation because they never disrupt the status quo. The world rewards action, decisiveness, and calculated risk, not hesitation or indecision. Growth requires resistance, and survival requires discomfort. You must learn to tolerate the unease that comes with pursuing higher stakes, because the moment you reject it, you accept mediocrity. Your goals, your skills, and your influence depend on your willingness to step out of ease and into the friction that sharpens competence. The call to action here is simple but urgent. Your potential is not destroyed by failure, and it is not limited by circumstance. It is killed quietly by comfort. Every time you choose the easy option, you are shrinking the life you could have led, the respect you could command, and the influence you could wield. If you want to rise above the masses, if you want to operate at the level of those who control outcomes instead of reacting to them, you must be willing to embrace discomfort as a daily tool, a constant reminder that growth requires resistance and that victory is reserved for those who refuse to settle. Now that you understand strategy, human behavior, influence, and the corrosive effects of comfort, it's time to tie everything together into a framework that allows you to operate at a level most people never even recognize. This is where the Machiavellian Playbook reveals its ultimate truth. Life is a game of moves, and your success depends on your ability to anticipate, adapt, and act with precision. Outsmarting, outlasting, and outwinning are not slogans. They are practical principles for navigating every challenge, every interaction, and every opportunity you encounter. To outsmart means first to see clearly what most people refuse to see. It is the ability to perceive the patterns, the traps, and the hidden rules that govern your environment. Outsmarting requires constant observation, self-awareness, and the courage to question assumptions that society has installed in your mind as unquestionable truths. It is the recognition that weakness is a liability, that appearances are a tool, and that your choices carry far more weight than you may realize. Outsmarting is not about cheating or deceit for its own sake. It is about clarity, strategy, and using knowledge as leverage. Every calculated decision, every informed move, is a step toward positioning yourself in a place of advantage where others are still blind. To outlast means enduring the pressures, distractions, and manipulations that would destroy those who lack resilience. It is the ability to maintain focus and discipline when the world is designed to pull you off course. Outlasting is about stamina, not just physical, but mental, emotional, and strategic. It is refusing to be rushed into poor choices, refusing to let discomfort paralyze you, and refusing to let temporary setbacks define your trajectory. Those who outlast are patient without being passive. They endure long enough to see opportunity when it comes, and they persist where others falter because the comfort trap has not seduced them. The world rewards persistence, but not blind persistence. Outlasting requires awareness, adaptability, and the ability to navigate setbacks with intelligence rather than frustration. To outwin is the culmination of the first two principles. It is the ability to turn strategy, awareness, and endurance into results that others notice and respect. Outwinning is not a one-time victory. It is sustained dominance achieved by consistently applying the lessons of strategy, perception, and resilience. To outwin is to make your presence undeniable, to ensure your decisions carry weight, and to create conditions where others must respond to you rather than you reacting to them. It is not about cruelty, vanity, or ego. It is about effectiveness, leverage, and control over the outcomes that matter most. Every time you enforce boundaries, act decisively, or leverage an opportunity that others miss, you are actively moving toward mastery of your environment. The framework is simple but profound. Recognize the hidden rules that society and circumstance have tried to impose on you. Identify weaknesses in yourself and others and act strategically. Command respect and influence without apology. And reject comfort to grow continuously. Every choice you make is either a move toward power or a concession to mediocrity. If you begin to live with awareness, strategy, and discipline, you create a life where results are no longer left to chance, where opportunities are seized rather than begged for, and where your presence carries weight without the need for constant validation. Picture it. Every action you take, every decision, Every interaction becomes part of a deliberate strategy designed to put you ahead. You are no longer merely participating in life. You are shaping it. You are no longer reacting to circumstances. You are creating them. Machiavelli's secret playbook is not about brute force or domination. It is about clarity, intelligence, and consistency in a world where most people act without thought and therefore fail. Outsmart, Outlast, Outwin. This is the principle that will allow you to step out of mediocrity and into influence, power, and results. Now that you've seen the principles laid out, strategy, awareness of weaknesses, influence, resilience, and the courage to reject comfort, it's time to internalize what this really means for your life. Success is not luck, it is not fairness, and it is certainly not a reward for good intentions. Success is deliberate, it is intentional. It is the result of understanding the rules, mastering perception, and acting with precision when others hesitate. Everything you've been taught about, always being polite, always being patient, or always playing by someone else's rules, has been designed to keep you small, to make you predictable, and to make you controllable. You now know that this is not the path to power. It is the path to stagnation. Every choice you make matters. Every decision is a signal to the world about who you are and what you are willing to tolerate. When you refuse to accept disrespect, when you enforce boundaries with clarity and consistency, when you act strategically rather than reactively, you are no longer subject to the manipulation, exploitation, and indifference that trap most people. You are signaling that you are not a pawn, you are a player, and the world will start treating you accordingly. Influence is not abstract, it is practical. It is the currency that turns effort into results, knowledge into leverage, and presence into authority. So let this be your affirmation. I choose strategy over comfort. I choose influence over approval. I choose results over intention. Say it, believe it, and begin acting in a way that aligns with it every single day. These are not empty words. They are the mindset that separates those who succeed from those who merely exist. Every time you hesitate, every time you accept the easy path, you lose ground. Every time you act decisively, enforce your standards, and leverage your awareness, you move closer to mastery. This is your call to operate at a higher level, to step into a way of thinking that most people will never understand, and to claim the results that are rightfully yours when strategy meets execution. And remember, this is only the beginning. Machiavelli's playbook is vast, filled with lessons that have shaped the rise and fall of leaders, entrepreneurs, and influencers for centuries. You now hold the keys to seeing the world differently, to operating more deliberately, and to living in a way that prioritizes power, clarity, and results over comfort, compliance, and approval. The chapters are still ahead of you, waiting to be written, but you have started the journey. Every action you take from this moment forward can be a move toward mastery. Every decision, every interaction, every challenge is a chance to outsmart, outlast, and outwin. The question is simple. Will you take it, or will you remain part of the crowd that lets life happen to them?